Hey there, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're zeroing in on a really specific part of the NFL landscape, looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars and their cornerback situation.
Hmm.
Specifically, we're going to track the rise of Montaric Brown, which is quite a story.
It really is.
Our mission for you today is basically to unpack all the dynamics here. The players involved, what it might mean for the Jags' defense this season. Okay, let's get into it.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how one player emerging, especially, an underdog like Brown, could just send ripples through the whole depth chart.
Yeah.
It's not just about one starting spot.
Yeah.
It forces the team to rethink, well, everything strategically, even how they use their top draft picks.
Absolutely. And Montaric Brown, I mean, his story is one of the more compelling ones lately. Seventh round pick, 2022. That's basically the definition of a long shot, right?
You don't expect much initially.
Exactly. But he's just been steadily climbing. Rookie year, okay, active for 8 games, got 1 start. Then 2023, started to get more involved, part-time role, played 12 games, 6 starts there.
Okay, building up.
But last year, that's when he really grabbed his chance, played in every single game, started 10 of them, and was on the field for like 72% of the defensive snaps. Led that cornerback room when it was banged up.
Wow, yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Brown's path isn't just, a nice story. It really shows resilience. It shows taking your opportunity. That's crucial for late round guys.
Totally.
A 7th rounder getting that much consistent playing time, let alone leading the group. That's rare. His snap share wasn't just because others were hurt. He clearly seized that chance and played well enough to earn the coach's trust.
No doubt.
Suggests a really strong work ethic, too, and probably a knack for picking things up quickly.
And he definitely earned that trust because right now, heading towards training camp, Brown is pretty much leading the race for that starting CB2 job opposite Tyson Campbell. Reports from spring said he looked really good with the first team. That's a big signal from the new coaches.
Huge vote of confidence.
But, okay, Brown's journey is one thing. There's another big piece here. The new defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanile. He's bringing in his own defensive style.
Right.
And specifically, he runs a lot of zone coverages.
Okay, and that's critical. Why does a new DC and a specific scheme like zone matter so much for defensive backs? Well, different schemes ask different things, right?
Right.
Zone coverage. It's less about sticking to one guy like glue all over the field. It's more about owning your area, defending your zone.
Gotcha. Reading the QB's eyes.
Exactly. Reading the QB, anticipating throws, knowing where you are, where your help is. You need great spatial awareness. A guy who's maybe a great man-to-man shadow corner might actually struggle if he can't adapt to those zone concepts quickly.
Makes sense.
So how fast these players pick up Campanile's system, that's really going to define their roles. It could totally shake up who starts no matter what they did last year. It's a mental game, too.
That's a really key point. Because, yeah, Brown's in the lead now, but he's definitely got company. There's competition. And some of these guys have, well, interesting adjustments to make with this new scheme. Take Jerry Jones, 3rd rounder from 2023. So, much higher draft pick than Brown.
Significant investment.
Right. And he mostly played nickel corner last year. That's the inside guy covering the slot receiver.
Yep.
But here's the kicker. Jones himself said this spring he had, quote, no experience with the zone coverages Campanile runs.
Ooh, okay. That raises a big question about adaptability, especially for young guys they've invested in, right?
Totally.
Jones has the talent. Obviously, they picked him high. But his main experience just doesn't line up perfectly with what the new scheme needs most. So can he learn zone fast enough? Especially if they ask him to play outside on the boundary. That's a different world than the slot.
A big learning curve.
For sure. But, hey, if he can master it, that changes everything. Changes his impact, gives the team way more flexibility. The question is, can Campanile get him dialed into zone quickly?
Exactly. Because if Jones adapts, if he can handle playing outside on the boundary, he could absolutely push Montaric Brown for that CB2 spot.
Yeah, definitely.
And interestingly, the sources suggest that offers an easy solution, potentially to another puzzle, what to do with Travis Hunter.
Ah, okay. Connect the dots there.
Right. So picture this. Jones starts outside opposite Campbell, but then, in nickel or dime packages, Jones slides inside to the slot where he played last year, and maybe Hunter comes in to play that boundary spot.
Ooh, interesting. So Jones plays both.
Potentially, it creates this really fluid secondary. Could be tough for offenses.
That is interesting flexibility.
And speaking of Travis Hunter, The number 2 overall pick. I mean, what a unique talent.
Unbelievable athlete.
He spent some time at corner in the spring, yeah, but the Jags are still, the phrase was ironing out the details on how they want to use him. Probably mostly receiver, but rotating in at corner?
Right, the two-way player experiment.
Exactly. And here's where it impacts Brown directly. If Campbell and Brown are the starting outside corners, that actually complicates Hunter's path to getting on the field on defense.
How so?
Well, Hunter mostly played outside in college, but he actually played a lot more in the slot in 2024, apparently. So if Campbell and Brown are locking down the outside spots and neither of them has played much nickel, Hunter might have to play slot on defense to get snaps alongside them.
Gotcha. So it forces Hunter inside if Brown wins the outside job.
Potentially, yeah, unless they find other ways.
Wow. Okay, what's fascinating there is that strategic balancing act, isn't it? Maximizing talent versus making sure the unit works together smoothly.
Right.
You've got this incredible talent in Hunter, number 2 pick, but fitting him in isn't simple when you have guys like Campbell and now maybe Brown stirring up. So the big question is, do you kind of force Hunter into maybe a less than ideal spot just to get his talent on the field?
Yeah, do you risk messing with the chemistry?
Exactly. Yeah. Or do you prioritize the guys who fit the scheme right now, the guys who have chemistry? Even if it means Hunter maybe doesn't play as much defense initially, it's a real chess match for the coaches. Every single move affects something else.
And just when you think that's complicated enough,
There's more.
there's more. They also brought in Jordan Lewis, veteran guy, signed him to a 3-year, $30 million deal this offseason.
Okay, that's real money. That's starter money, or close to it.
Right. That size of investment tells you the new regime, they have a plan for him.
Yeah.
And Lewis, he brings a ton of experience, specifically in the slot. Played something like 3,400 snaps there for Dallas over 8 years.
Wow. Okay.
So based on that background in the contract, he seems very likely to push hard for that starting nickel job himself.
Yeah, if we connect that back,
Yeah.
those contracts, they aren't just numbers, they're puzzle pieces, right? They signal intent.
Definitely.
That kind of money for Lewis, a guy known for playing the slot,
Just a...
it strongly suggests they see him as the primary nickel,
Ooh,
which, again, has knock-on effects.
like what?
Well, if Lewis locks down the nickel spot, maybe that pushes Jerry and Jones more towards the outside permanently, competing with Brown. Or maybe it means Hunter's defensive snaps have to come on the boundary if he gets any.
Yeah.
It just adds another layer to figuring out where everyone fits.
So, okay, let's try and wrap our heads around this. What does it all mean for the Jags defense, for Brown, Jones, Hunter, Lewis heading into camp?
It's complicated.
Yeah. The Jaguars have got to juggle all these investments, right?
Yeah.
High draft picks in Jones and Hunter, big free agent money for Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
plus Brown emerging, and they need to fit them into a functioning secondary.
Under a new scheme.
Under a new scheme. So
Yeah.
Campanile, the DC, he's probably going to be testing out a lot of different combinations, duos, trios at corner,
Yeah.
trying to figure out which group gives them the most upside in his zone system.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be fascinating to watch unfold in training camp. Every practice rep is going to count, you'd imagine.
Yeah, and it begs that question, doesn't it? How do you build that cohesive unit when you have all this talent, but maybe they don't all fit together perfectly on paper, especially with a new system coming in?
Right. It's not just about who's the most talented guy individual.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's about chemistry. It's about communication, fitting the scheme. The coaches have got to find that best combination, balancing the potential of the young guys, Brown, Jones, Hunter, with the known quantity of a veteran like Lewis.
Yeah.
It's a super dynamic process. It'll probably keep evolving right up until week 1. Every decision they make could change a player's whole season.
And that's really what makes this whole situation so interesting to dive into, isn't it? We're just looking at one position for one team, but it shows you just how much strategy and player development and sheer adaptability goes into every single snap in the NFL.
It really does.
We've seen Montaric Brown's really impressive climb, from late round pick to maybe a starter. We've seen the new defensive scheme changing the requirements, and this deep, complex pool of corners in Jacksonville all fighting for spots. It's clear football decisions are rarely simple. This depth chart battle, perfect example.
Indeed. And this kind of detailed look, it really highlights how many of these critical, maybe unseen battles are shaping entire seasons across the league. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other quiet competitions, what other strategic shifts are going on behind the scenes, deciding who rises, who adapts, and, ultimately which teams win.